My name is Jordan Belfort. The year I turned 26, I made $49 million, which really pissed me off because it was 3 shy of $1 million a week.
Cocky, successful, hateable, and enviable are all words that describe Jordan Belfort, the lead character in Martin Scorsese's 2013 crime epic, The Wolf of Wall Street. Welcome to Character Study, the series where we break down and analyze some of our favorites and least favorite characters throughout cinema history. On our first episode, we are going to start by looking at Jordan Belfort. Because this character is based off of a real person, there may be some confliction between events happening in real life and events happening in the film. However, our sole focus is going to be the events that happened in the film, so just what is seen on screen. This episode is going to focus on the evolution of Jordan. Look at how he was a mild-mannered man trying to make it into the world of finance into a drug-fueled maniac. There are also a few things I'd like to clear up before we get any further into this video. First, I'm only going to be focusing on the character and not the technical side of the film. I'm also not going to be focusing on the great performance by Leonardo DiCaprio. And again, this is a movie that I really enjoyed, however, I'm not going to be showing why it's a good movie. Instead, I'm just going to be focusing on why it's an interesting character. It's also worth mentioning that this is one of the most explicit movies out there. It's a record-holding explicit movie. So although I'm going to try and keep it as clean as possible, to really understand the character, we're going to have to look at both drug use and foul language to really understand and get to know the character. Third and finally, I'd like to warn you that I will be discussing spoilers. I'm going to be discussing this character in depth from all across the movie, so if you have not seen the movie, make sure you check it out before watching this video. But let's begin to talk about his background. A lot of what we need to know has already been told to us.
I'm a former member of the middle class, raised by 2 accountants.
So with that knowledge that he grew up poor, it really lets us get a grasp on what motivates him. We'll be looking much further into that shortly, but first, let's look at his family situation, which is surprisingly good. We don't get too much information on his youth, and we really only get this one image. But we can see that he has a good relationship with his father, who not only does he respect, but also turns to for advice, hired him, and gets along with very well. We're not led to believe that there's any history of abuse, unlike one of Martin Scorsese's other lead characters, Henry Hill. Upon meeting Jordan at his youngest stage in the film, he is all around a good guy. Upon his first day on Wall Street, he is mild-mannered, and honestly just a pretty normal guy. He is set up to be relatable. A month ago, I'm sure his character would have been just like any of us. The biggest thing that changed his character, it wasn't the extra money, but it was Wall Street. On his first day, he is encouraged to drink, use cocaine, masturbate,
You jerk off?
and swear like there is no tomorrow. He also sees that the higher you go in Wall Street, the more people respect you.
Just so you know, last year,
I made over $300,000.
the other guy you'll be working for, he made over $1 million.
Even when he has started his own business but is still with his first wife, both of them are concerned about the legality of what he is doing. His parents raised him to be a good person, and yet that eventually was taken from him. But let's talk about what Jordan wants, what motivates him and what drives him. Again, the simple answer is laid out for us. He wants money. And it makes sense. When he first got into Wall Street, it was because he wanted to support his first wife. He grew up poor and wanted to be able to overcome that. Remember this speech?
I have been a rich man and I have been a poor man, and I choose rich every fucking time.
However, money alone isn't something that drives him. He also wants to live a lifestyle, and that lifestyle in the film is portrayed as something with no work and no responsibility. But he still is working and still has responsibilities. He is still running a company. I would assume he works just as much, if not more, than your average person. And yet the big difference is how he spends his free time. The difference is that he's able to live a stress-free life, and it really pays off. He doesn't want money. He wants to be able to run an empire, not a business. Don't get me wrong, the money comes with the empire, as do the women and the drugs, but his main goal throughout the film is building up Stratton Oakmont to be the best that it can be, which then helps him. On his first day on the job, he is treated like
Pond scum.
He sees how people are treated, and he doesn't want any of that, so he does everything in his power to try and get away from that until he starts to build up his own empire. And once he gets that empire, he doesn't treat people like that. He treats people well. Let me clarify, by default, he treats people well, getting them hired, getting them paid, encouraging them, and letting them go further. Once they mess up, however, then there's a real problem. However, if they're doing a fine job, then he gets along great with his people, and they all respect him. Above all else, what he wants is to be able to live an extraordinary life. to be able to do what he wants when he wants without any consequences, and he is able to do that, at least for the time being. So as we have already touched upon, Jordan is able to build up that lifestyle and empire that he wanted. However, just like so many movies where characters have falls from grace, a lot directed by Martin Scorsese, that's a big theme in a lot of his movies. But just like all of these movies, The Wolf of Wall Street has our character meet his eventual demise. In this case, it looks like it's prison time, but as we learn,
I'd forgotten I was rich. And I lived in a place where everything was for sale.
he was able to buy himself out of prison essentially and create a better life for himself. However, he still had his fall from grace. Despite living a good life in prison, he lost everything. His wife, who was the symbol of his lifestyle, all of his money in which he was able to create his lifestyle, and he lost his business. And eventually, he became an average person. This can be seen by a cameo from the real Jordan Belfort in the movie. He's an average or slightly above average person, but nowhere close to where he used to be. Through including the real Jordan Belfort in the movie, Martin Scorsese showed that he is someone normal, no longer the character we saw just minutes ago. He is a sales trainer, not a rock star. That's just a guy. So how did Jordan go from someone on top to being just an average person? Well, his affection for the people he cares about, most specifically Donnie. Because he told Donnie he was wearing a wire, the FBI found out and got him arrested. Quick little side note, in real life, Donnie gave that note to the FBI, but that wasn't mentioned in the movie, so that's not going to be part of this character study, but it is very interesting in my opinion. That incident caused his downfall, but that was the straw breaking the camel's back, and his illegal methods are what caused his downfall from the beginning. However, it is interesting that what caused his downfall is him trying to help out others. So, let's look at his low points or his breaking points, and these are two things that happen right next to each other. The first being the yacht nearly crashing and him almost dying. This was an awakening. He values his life because his life let him does what he does, and he saw how close he came to dying. This event caused him to sober up, and this was the boring part of his life, and Martin Scorsese showed that off by skipping 2 years of his life while he was sober. The next time we see him, he is at his lowest point, and he breaks. He breaks his sobriety after a fight with his wife, when she tries to kidnap his daughter before crashing his car. After that, he has nothing. He goes to jail, and that's when his normal life begins. In overview, Jordan Belfort is really one of the most interesting characters of the last few years in film. He was driven to a life of crime because of where he grew up, but his version of crime is very unconventional. He's not robbing people blind, he is robbing them right to their face or over the phone. It is interesting but shown off perfectly. Make sure you drop a comment and tell me what you thought about this character. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe so you can join me next time.